Welcome to Drunken Yogi News. Shit to pay attention to.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war. I'll be very blunt.
Welcome back. Let's look into some political news. Let's start by looking in how we should never question our government. We're going to start with the TSA and the new reports coming out from it.
The undercover investigators were actually able to smuggle mock explosives and banned weapons in 67 out of 70 attempts. That's a failure rate of 95%. So in one of the tests, for example, an investigator with a fake bomb attached to his back set off an alarm, but was allowed to pass through after a pat-down. I mean, what if that wasn't a test? Now, in response to these findings, of course, the TSA acting administrator resigned from his position. Sorry, of course he didn't. No.
Nice shirt, Stephen. Anyway, TSA has been instated for over a decade. It's fondled many people, fondled old people that can't get out of their wheelchair. But as we've seen time and time again, the body scanners don't work. Molesting people doesn't work. It doesn't keep us safe. It's not there to keep us safe. It is there to keep us in line. It's there to keep the government in power. And that's about it. Pentagon shipped live anthrax samples to Canada. Thank God we have a government to protect us from evil people shipping anthrax across this country. A new disclosure from the Pentagon officials say samples of live anthrax were sent to 3 Canadian laboratories. An unnamed Pentagon official not authorized to speak publicly told USA Today that so far no one has been sickened by the shipments. And the military investigators are continuing to search anthrax samples and records to discover whether further samples were shipped to other labs. They still don't even know how bad they screwed up. This is insane. The agency said that the public was not at risk from the anthrax spores, which if inhaled can spark a high fever, other flu-like symptoms, and can even be lethal with treatment. Thank you, Pentagon, for keeping us safe by shipping live anthrax around the country. So, moving on to the EPA, these lovely people. EPA says fracking water is safe to drink. The Environmental Protections Agency has created a natural gas producing hydraulic fracturing process, otherwise known as fracking, has no detrimental effect on groundwater, despite documented evidence to the contrary. The EPA will say anything it wants to and think that you're going to believe it. I think it's coming out in response to the article that came out last week that we covered, fracking chemicals detected in Pennsylvania drinking water, where it goes through and shows that multiple residents around a fracking installation have been finding chemicals known to be in the fracking serum in their drinking water. So it's time for the EPA to come out and wave its magic wand and tell everybody it's safe. Just drink the magic fracking fluid. In a year or two, the EPA is going to be telling us the health benefits of ingesting these chemicals, keeping us safe every day. Thank you, government. Tens of thousands march against the global elites ahead of the G7. And Luke from We Are Change is there covering this live, doing an amazing job, loving the Snapchat documentation of it. So let's turn to see what he's up to and how the protests are going with his live Snapchat updates.
Huge motorcade. I mean, this is still going on for a very long time. So this is the bike protest that just arrived here. There's other demonstrations that are walking here, but this is the first one that has
For the first time, we finally
arrived.
know who these people
Now the
are,
police
what they're
telling
doing,
protesters on bikes
and
that
people are
their
finally
bikes are
standing
not
up against
allowed
it.
in the free speech zone that they have set up for them here by the G7. So So right now, as you can see behind me, there's a situation because the police are not letting the press get to their cars because the road is now permanently blocked off, leaving us here. As you can see here, not many people are able to get here because the roads are blocked, cars are not available, public transportation was closed down, and only these bikers made it to this protest zone here. But there's more press than protesters, and there's a lot more police everywhere in the vicinity. And there's a lot more police officers. We're also joined by We Are Change Rotterdam, which is here.
Hi there. Hi there. Great to see you over there.
How does We Are Change Rotterdam have official press t-shirts of We Are Change? I'm not even on that level. Rotterdam's doing amazing here.
But you have a full accreditation. Well, no full accreditation, but we made this t-shirt ourselves. That's really grassroots, isn't it?
Yeah,
Awesome
very much.
people doing awesome things against evil tyrants. Meeting to talk about how they're going to screw us for another year. On the same topic, Bilderberg is coming up. In early June, and InfoWars will be there to cover it. Let's see what they have for their preliminary report.
Bilderberg 2015 is going to be one of the most important Bilderberg events that's ever been covered by the press. It is the Bilderberg group that represents the global corporate fascist shadow government that is establishing a planetary regime right now. They're behind the EU in their own annals. They're behind the North American Union and now the Asian Union, known as the TPP. They don't want to be identified. They don't want press coverage. Until 10 years ago, the media wouldn't even admit they existed. But alternative media, the people's media, you, the viewers of this show and others, helped expose it. It's so exciting.
Please look into this for yourself and support any organization that's uncovering the Bilderberg or the G7. These are the key people, at least in our public area, that we can see that we need to start holding their feet to the fire, that we need to start having answers for what they're doing in these meetings and why, especially with Bilderberg, everything's so secret. We have politicians, we have business insiders, supposedly the girl that did the swallowable pill for Google is going to be there. It's something to look into. We'll recap it after it's done, see exactly what they saw and what they covered. This year it's out in the middle of nowhere, so it's going to be pretty hard. It's going to be further off than the G7 protest to be able to get any good coverage and see what they're doing. Well, thank you guys for joining us again. I hope to see you soon. Please like, share, spread the word, get these stories out. I'll be bringing you more, better, less computer fan blowing news in the future. Look to see you next week.